Welcome to the deep dive. And, if you've ever felt like the demands of modern parenting are just this impossible uphill climb, you are absolutely not alone. We dove deep into the data, and it confirms this stress is pretty widespread. One major study from 2023 found that a staggering 70% of mothers and 60% of fathers report that being a parent today. It's just so much more demanding than it was a few decades ago.
Oh, it's the truth. And that pressure doesn't just increase. I mean, it absolutely skyrockets the moment those predictable school routines disappear. And that brings us right to the core issue we are tackling for you today. It's managing screen time limits when the holiday structure has, completely flown out the window.
That disruption is the real villain here, isn't it? Especially for children who might already struggle with executive function skills, things like emotional flexibility or just tolerating frustration. When that structure vanishes, the conflict so often centers around that glowing high-demand device. We need a way to hold a boundary without losing our minds or damaging the relationship.
That is the mission. We're going to equip you with an evidence-based, trauma-informed method called collaborative problem solving, or CPS. This approach was developed at Massachusetts General Hospital, and its core philosophy. I mean, it is an absolute game changer. It's all built on the belief that kids do well if they can.
That's a powerful shift in perspective. So if we accept that kids inherently want to do well, what does that mean about the challenging behaviors we see? Like the refusal to put down the tablet when time is up.
It means that behavior doesn't come from intentional manipulation or spite. It comes from lagging neurocognitive skills, a deficit in the ability to handle frustration, to transition, or to organize themselves in that moment. When a child can't meet an expectation, it's not because they won't, it's because they lack the specific skill to do so right then.
That just reframes the entire interaction. It moves us away from punishment and more towards teaching. This structure is what lets us achieve that ideal balance in parenting, right? High responsiveness coupled with high structure.
Exactly. This is the definition of the authoritative parenting style, which is consistently shown to be optimal for promoting positive child development. Especially for things like self-regulation and, healthy adjustment. The tool that puts this philosophy into action is a structured three-step dialogue known as Plan B.
Okay, before we jump into the mechanics of Plan B, I want to linger on this foundational shift for just a moment. Why is it so important compared to other approaches? Because I think we've all used that style that's high on warmth, but maybe low on demands, the permissive approach. Why is that style, even with all its warmth, so damaging to self-regulation?
That's a crucial question. The permissive style, it often grants a lot of autonomy and, minimizes punishment. But without clearly defined, consistently enforced boundaries, the child doesn't learn how to manage frustration or navigate constraints. They just aren't learning those crucial internal skills. The authoritative approach provides the warmth and the demanding structure at the same time. It views the behavior as a window into that internal experience. So the refusal to put the tablet down isn't the problem itself, it's the clue. The difficulty tolerating the frustration of stopping an engaging activity is the clue.
And for this specific issue, excessive screen time gives us a clear, health-focused adult concern to bring to the table. We aren't just imposing some, arbitrary boundary.
Absolutely. The stakes are real, and they're backed by the data you shared with us. We saw that major study published in the journal Pediatrics in December 2025. It specifically links early smartphone ownership by age 12 to demonstrably higher risks of depression and obesity. So the adult concern isn't just about winning a battle, it's about protecting their developmental trajectory.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting for me. If we're trying to manage these moments, we so often try to shut down the child's distress. But the sources suggest the goal isn't to eliminate the feeling or the distress, it's to reduce the destructive force of shame. What did the sources pinpoint as the most destructive element of these conflicts?
It's the shame. Shame is that powerful emotion that makes a child feel, unworthy or unlovable. When discipline focuses only on immediate compliance through power, that's Plan A, which we'll get to, it often generates shame. The parenting goal is to hold the boundary, the screen time limit, but not to change the child's feeling about that limit. You validate the disappointment while maintaining the expectation, and that validation prevents the shame from taking root.
That brings us to the formal structure of collaborative problem solving. So when a child is failing to meet an expectation, what CPS calls an unsolved problem, adults actually have three basic options. Can you walk us through those ABC options?
Certainly. So Plan A is the imposition of adult will, using power, control, immediate punishment.
The because I said so plan.
Exactly. It's fast, but it often escalates conflict. And crucially, it teaches zero skills. Then you have Plan C, which is dropping the expectation entirely, at least for the moment.
I think every parent listening has used Plan C at 5 p.m. on Christmas Eve just to survive. Is that cheating?
It's survival, and sometimes it's necessary, but you can't use it for important recurring issues, not for things like screen time or sleep habits, because it just teaches the child that the expectation is negotiable under duress.
So Plan B is the sweet spot.
It is the method. Plan B is solving the problem collaboratively. This is specifically designed to reduce challenging behaviors, teach critical neurocognitive skills like flexibility and frustration tolerance, and strengthen the parent-child relationship all at the same time. We're putting that authoritative balance right into practice.
Now, the key to successfully putting Plan B into action is timing. You don't try to deploy a 3-step dialogue during a full-blown meltdown.
Absolutely not. No. Plan B should be initiated when both you and the child are calm. Usually after the fact, or proactively anticipating a recurring problem, like the daily struggle to end the gaming session. The structure allows you to process the conflict in a low-stakes environment.
Let's break down the 3 core ingredients of Plan B using our scenario. The child is refusing to put down their device during the holiday break because they want to finish a level or a game.
Okay, so step 1 is the empathy step. The parent initiates the dialogue, but their sole focus has to be on gathering information. You're trying to fully understand the child's perspective on the unsolved problem. A good way to start isn't an accusation, it's an observation. Something like, I've noticed it's been really hard for you to put the tablet down when your time is up. Tell me about that. What's up from your perspective?
The parent is essentially acting as a detective, right?
Yeah.
You're trying to figure out the why behind their resistance. Is it, fear of losing progress? Are they in the middle of something social? Do they just hate transitions?
Precisely. You are collecting data. And the core mechanism here is validation. You have to validate the feeling to help the child feel heard and supported, which lowers the emotional intensity instantly. The goal is complete comprehension, not agreement. So the child says, I just want to finish the level. A parent should respond with a validation script. You really wish you could finish that game, don't you? It's so frustrating when you have to stop right in the middle of a challenge.
That's a great example. You're acknowledging the feeling without caving on the boundary. I imagine that's hard to do in the moment because it feels like you're letting them off the hook emotionally.
It feels counterintuitive, but it's essential. Research actually confirms that when parents dismiss or minimize a child's feelings, saying things like, stop being upset over a little thing, or it's just a game, that action is actually associated with increased aggression in children later on. The emotion coaching approach of Plan B is about accepting the emotion, which leads to better self-soothing skills and fewer conflicts overall.
Okay, so once the child feels fully understood and you have your detective work completed, we move to step 2. Define adult concerns. This is the high-structure half of that authoritative equation.
This is where the adult introduces their perspective and valid concern. It's crucial to remember the rule here. Solutions are not discussed during this step. You're purely laying out the why. So for our screen time example, the parent could articulate the concern clearly. Something like, my concern is that too much screen time during the holidays keeps you from face-to-face interaction with your cousins, and when you are on screens late, it affects your sleep habits, which are vital for your focus and emotional development.
And that link back to the health risks and the developmental need, that's what makes the boundary non-negotiable, not just some arbitrary adult power play.
Exactly. You are communicating the impact of the unsolved problem on you, on others, or on the child's own well-being. It frames the expectation as a communal necessity, not a punishment. You just state, I am concerned that X is happening because of the problem, and then you stop.
This sets the stage for step 3, the invitation step. This is the true partnership phase.
The invitation is the collaborative generation of a solution. Now that both concerns, the child's need, like to finish the game, and the adult's concern, protecting sleep and social time, are on the table, you work together to find a path forward. The solution has to be realistic, meaning you both can actually do it, and mutually satisfactory, so it addresses both concerns.
What does that collaboration actually sound like? Is the parent leading or following here?
It starts with the parent offering it an invitation, something like, so we both agree you love your games, and I'm concerned about your sleep. How can we make sure you get enough gaming time and you get to bed on time, without me having to interrupt you mid-level? This is where you actively teach those lagging skills. By jointly creating a solution, you are exercising flexibility and frustration tolerance in real time.
And this is where the creativity comes into play. What are some of the creative solutions the sources mentioned?
It often involves giving choices within boundaries. For screen time, maybe the solution is an agreement to use a preset timer and transition music, or setting a specific gaming schedule. From 2 to 3 p.m. is your dedicated device time, but immediately after, we will schedule a device-free family board game or go outside. If the original problem was about bedtime, you might offer the choice. Do you want to read 2 books or one tonight before lights out?
That small sense of control over a small matter, it gives the child investment in the outcome. It makes them less likely to react with defiance.
Absolutely. The process concludes when you both agree on a solution, and this is important, you agree to return to Plan B if the solution fails. This reinforces the authoritative model as a continuous teaching process, not a one-time fix.
Okay, that gives us the definitive tool for managing conflict. Now, let's pivot and talk a bit more about prevention, because preventing meltdowns is always easier than managing them once they start.
Prevention is essential, especially when holiday chaos hits. Our sources stress that even when routines are disrupted, maintaining consistent daily structures and healthy sleep habits is just vital. The chaos of late nights and unpredictable meals is destabilizing for children's emotional regulation.
So that means we need consistent wake-up and bedtimes, even when grandma's visiting, right?
Precisely. A consistent sleep schedule is so crucial for emotional and cognitive development. And this circles right back to the screens again. We have to actively avoid screens for at least 30 minutes before bedtime. That blue light and mental stimulation, it just interferes with the body's natural production of melatonin, making it harder to fall asleep and stay asleep. Encourage calm, analog pre-sleep activities like reading or quiet conversation instead.
Moving beyond sleep, what other proactive strategies reinforce the authoritative approach? We briefly mentioned positive reinforcement earlier.
It's the daily maintenance that prevents the engine from seizing up. Positive reinforcement praise is the sunshine and fertilizer that positive behaviors need to grow. But it has to be specific, sincere, and immediate. Instead of a generic, good job, you need to highlight the specific action.
Can you give me an example? The specific versus the generic in a high-stress holiday context.
Sure. Let's say the kids are tidying up toys that they usually fight about. Generic is, wow, you're being good. Specific is, I saw that you shared the task of putting away those building blocks without arguing, even though you both wanted to do different things. That was really flexible and helpful. You are labeling the skill you want to see repeated flexibility.
And what about consequences? If a child breaks a rule, how does the authoritative model frame the consequence differently than, say, a punitive model?
In the authoritative model, consequences are viewed purely as teaching tools designed to build self-regulation. We distinguish between 2 types. Natural consequences occur automatically without adult interference. For instance, if a child leaves a beloved toy outside, the natural consequence is that it gets rained on or stolen. The parent shouldn't intervene.
And logical consequences are the ones the parent applies.
Yes. Logical consequences are predetermined and rationally related to the misbehavior. The goal is to build those executive function skills, understanding cause and effect. Take the example of children arguing intensely over a single desirable toy. The logical consequence isn't a spanking or shouting, it's putting the toy away for a set period.
How does that specifically teach a lagging skill? It teaches that their behavior directly affects their access to a desired item. If they can't collaborate on sharing the toy, the consequence is that the toy leaves the immediate environment. The next time, they're more motivated to use the skills of sharing, compromise, and frustration tolerance to keep access to the toy. This structured, predictable application is what helps them internalize the rules of social engagement. And finally, a huge, maybe the most important part of the authoritative balance is parental modeling.
Absolutely. Children will always model the behavior of authoritative figures. You are their primary source of information on how to handle emotional distress and conflict. If you want your child to learn calm conflict resolution, you have to model it yourself. This means using calm and measured tones during disagreements, actively listening without interrupting, and modeling healthy ways of handling your own anxiety.
So if I'm frustrated by the holiday travel chaos, I should voice that frustration in a controlled way, rather than just bottling it up.
Precisely. You model self-awareness by reflecting on your own emotions and triggers out loud. You might say, wow, I'm feeling really frustrated right now because traffic is making us late. I need to take 3 deep breaths so I can handle this calmly. This teaches your child that feelings are normal, but actions are choices, and they have tools like deep breaths to manage them.
So let's circle back to the listener. We started with this overwhelming reality that parenting is demanding, especially when holiday chaos meets screen time struggles. What does adopting this system really give them?
Mhm. It gives them a structured process, Plan B, that turns conflict into a teaching opportunity. By adopting the core philosophy that challenging behaviors signal lagging skills, not manipulative intent, you shift the dynamic entirely.
Yeah.
You move from trying to control immediate behavior to fostering inner directedness and resilience that will serve them long past this holiday season.
And ultimately, that focus on process over immediate outcome is what matters most. The joy really is in the journey, isn't it? Not in trying to speed up a child's development toward perfect behavior. We are building the skills they need long term, and that relationship remains intact.
The strength of the relationship is the foundation upon which all learning rests.
As you navigate this holiday season, think about how cultivating family rituals is proven to be associated with greater holiday enjoyment and family closeness. Our sources noted this is true regardless of the type of ritual, whether it's based on food, game playing, or other traditions. Consider how proactively using Plan B and the principles of collaborative resolution can create a new, positive ritual for handling conflict within your home, increasing connection and closeness during a high-stress time.
A fantastic, forward-looking thought.
Thank you for sharing your sources with us. We hope this deep dive helps you navigate those tricky moments with competence and calm.